Hello, everybody, and welcome to our day early comics review show. I'm Jason,
I'm Andy.
and we're with Infinity Flux Comics out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, where every Tuesday after we're done bagging and boarding all the new comics that arrived, we divide them up. We read the ones we've just been looking forward to, or the most desirable ones, the ones we know everyone wants to hear more about, and we do a spoiler light review show on them. And by spoiler light, what I mean is we tell you a lot more than what you're going to learn in the solicitation, but we don't do a complete play by play, so it's still fun for you to read it.
Mm-hmm.
We'll let you know about first appearances, major things, but more than that, just what the plot's about, what the art's like, and who the comic would most appeal to.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I think we got a pretty big week this week.
Yeah, it was pretty big. There was a lot of books that I wanted to take my time with, but just the sheer number of books, I didn't get to spend as long with them as I wanted to because I was researching. Is this the first time this character's ever appeared in something? And I don't know, one of those fun weeks.
Yeah, and I mean, for you, this is a heavy Star Wars week. So
Yeah.
anyone who watches the show, Andy does all of our Star Wars stuff. And yeah, when I was writing up the list, I was like, you're going to have a lot of reading to do
Yes. Yeah.
today. Okay, so what is your first book?
Well, my first one is, I guess, our final new number one from Todd McFarlane for at least a little while. This is Scorched number one. I believe it was some places called Spawn the Scorched, but on the cover it says the Scorched. And this is the last one, at least, of the Spawn universe titles that were teased. So we had King Spawn, Gunslinger Spawn, now we have the Scorched. And this one is really cool because this is our first Spawn team book.
It's hard for me to imagine. Like, I'm looking forward to checking this out later.
Yeah, it's funny. It's even kind of brought up in the book that like these characters would never be on a team together. They don't work well. Spawn is such a loner thing that how does it happen? But I don't necessarily think you would have to have read Spawn, consistently or any of the other titles.
All 300 some.
Yeah,
issues.
no, I think you're okay as long as you have a passing knowledge of some of the characters and that there's multiple versions of Spawn. It's funny, I don't know if Todd McFarlane ever thought back when he was creating these characters that when they don't have distinct names, they're just something Spawn, something Spawn.
Yeah.
And so when they are like talking to each other, like, "Hey, Medieval and Gunslinger, you go over here," and it's like, those aren't your most normal names for calling team members. And she Spawn and everything. And I wanted to have an argument of like, why does he get to be just Spawn? I came first. I came from the medieval times. But something in this, there is. It kind of picks up right in the middle of a conflict in Russia where there is like this evil group that are planning some dastardly things in this mountain base. Very G.I. Joe feeling. And Medieval Spawn and She Spawn and Redeemer and regular Spawn come together to stop these things. And basically when they wipe them out, Al Simmons Spawn says, "Good job, get all this cleaned up because this is your new headquarters." Because he's kind of putting together roughly his team of Spawns. But what he doesn't know is She Spawn, after regular Spawn leaves, turns to the other ones and says, "Hey, why don't you actually be part of my team?" And they're like, "Why would we work for you and not him?" She's like, "I have a better ability to draft more people into our group, and I can help you out with whatever he promised." So it's a very weird thing. Like, does she have her own plans, or does she not trust Al Simmons? We'll have to read it to find out. But this is taking us on our first mission with this Scorched team. You find out why they are Scorched. Gunslinger Spawn does come into it. They have to recruit him. But it's a very interesting thing because they each have their own roles in the group. And it seems like the first mission they're going to go on is one for Redeemer, who's the only member of the group that is not a Spawn. But he has a little beef with the character, the Reaper. He says, "I'll join your group if you help me with this." So it seems like, at least for a little while, we're going to get the team helping each of the members out with a little problem they have. And the first thing that they're going to have to do is track down Plague Spawn, who appeared, I forgot, issue 300 and something, but we learn a little bit more about Plague Spawn and why he is the way he is. A very interesting lore thing with him. But it winds up with a little like, oh, this makes sense type thing. You'll have to read it to find out with concerning Al Simmons Spawn. But really fun issue, another great entry. This is way more high action and everything. I'd say, King Spawn is very dark. Gunslinger Spawn is fun, but it's focusing on one character. This has the energy of that kind of Gunslinger Spawn, regular Spawn, where they're just taking on armies. Really cool. Great first issue. I think a lot of people, if you've liked the previous Spawn stuff, will really like this one.
I think all the other Spawn should insist that the Al Simmons Spawn be called 90s Spawn.
Yeah, if you're medieval, you're Gunslinger.
Yep.
Yeah, it only makes sense. Early aught Spawn and all of that. But I feel like I said the word Spawn 150 times.
Then you reviewed it correctly.
I reviewed it correctly when everyone in the book is named Spawn. So this is our A cover. You can see on a lot of these covers, She-Spawn is definitely the kind of leader of this group. She's really cool in this. And there's way more to this issue. It is definitely a deluxe-sized issue. I didn't go over everything in it. You'll have to read it to see. We have the Mark Silvestri cover. We have the Ryan Stegman cover. I think it's really cool Ryan Stegman is doing one. We have the Booth connecting cover. So finally you can complete your triptych, or however many there was, 3 or 4 of the connecting covers with all the Spawn characters in the background. We have, of course, a McFarlane cover. Really nice. We have an Aguilera cover. Aguilero.
It's pretty cool, sort of biblical.
Yes. And then you can't have a Spawn without a Capullo cover. Really nice. And it promises that there's going to be kind of other Spawns iterations rotating in this team. This is not a lockdown team. And then we have a 1 in 50 Capullo sketch variant. Really nice. You can still see the blue lines on it. We are selling to our customers for $40.
All right, I'm going to start with probably the biggest spec comic of the week, if not maybe Spawn the Scorched, which Andy just did. And that is Death of Doctor Strange Bloodstone. So this is a one-shot that has to do with Elsa Bloodstone and her family. So why do I say this is the spec comic of the week? It has the first appearance of a new sister for Elsa. Like a brand new, where did she come from character. In fact, a lot of people on message boards have been like, how in the world does Elsa have another sister that she doesn't know about? So, originally, Elsa is the daughter of the famous monster hunter Ulysses, and she was sort of an only child. But then later they sort of retconned in. She has a brother named Cullen, who has sort of a demon that lives in him, which is pretty problematic for the family. Well, now they have another sister, and it seems like everybody is running out to buy her first appearance, and which is this book. So her name is Lyra Bloodstone. I'm not going to tell you where she comes from, but it is totally explained. The explanation does satisfy in that Elsa would not have known about her. Okay, so bear in mind, Doctor Strange, when he died, a lot of things got let loose. A lot of monsters, a lot of powers, but also a lot of secrets. She's one of those secrets. So it will fully explain it if you buy it, who she is, why she's never been known, all that's in there. I will tell you her power, though, or at least one of her powers. I don't know if they're all revealed in this. She eats magic.
Yum, yum.
Yeah, I don't mean she doesn't take like a Subway sub shape of magic and chomp on it, but she like absorbs it into her, and it nourishes her in a way. You'll have to read the comic to see why that is, how that came to be with her. But that's a useful power, because of course Elsa, she's a monster hunter, and a lot of these monsters are of magical nature.
Mhm.
So if you have somebody there who could absorb that magic, that could be very, very useful. So in this issue, past that, the explanation of who she is, where she came from, the Bloodstone family is attacked by old former enemies of Ulysses, which happens a lot with Elsa. She's almost always going up against people that are mad at her for what her dad has done.
Yeah.
And now that Doctor Strange is dead, well, a lot of them are coming out. And so I guess the question is, can the Bloodstone family come together with this new sibling? Can they trust her? And can they stop all these enemies of Ulysses they have to fight in this one shot? So pick it up, check it out, and you'll find that out. It's a good one-shot issue, but I just wanted to start off by telling everyone that's why the spec on it is heavy. So we have a variant for it. This is the Maria Wolf variant. There's also a design variant that has Lyra on it. Ours is sold, so I do not even have it. But that one has been going for a pretty penny if you can find it in your local store or wherever.
Yeah, it's interesting that a character that I don't want to say is like not super well known, but Elsa Bloodstone kind of shows up around Halloween,
Yeah.
in specials and Werewolf by Night specials
She's
and stuff like that.
more of a Marvel UK character.
Yeah, so I'm interested why people are really specking on her
Doctor
sister
Strange
character.
stuff is very hot, and just I don't know. A lot of Marvel magical characters are very hot right now.
Yeah, really interesting that
And
one's.
I think Elsa's awesome. I mean, she's a monster hunter who goes around shooting monsters in the head with a really cool gun. So
I mean, yeah. What more could you ask
yeah.
for? Okay, my next one is for all the Star Wars fans, all the people who've been keeping up with the High Republic. This is a big one. This is Star Wars High Republic Eye of the Storm #1. This is the secret origin issue that explains Marchion Road, the leader of the Nile, the big threat in the High Republic era. This goes all the way back to his childhood. You learn about his people, where he's from, everything. So this is it's really cool because I've been reading the novels as well, and they don't get into this, at least not yet, that he comes from a planet that is constantly like ravaged by high intense storms, and instead of like fleeing the planet, his people have embraced the storms. Their ships they create, everything is made to kind of go with the storms rather than combat it or go against it, and gives a little hint to why a lot of the Nile stuff is storm reference. They have tempests, and they have he's considered the eye of the storm is his role. Um, Really cool that you kind of get some backstory on that. But what's also funny about this is at one point the storm on the planet that they've kind of grown to respect, something happens and it turns on them and wipes out most of the people on the planet.
Wow.
And this hurts their trust. They thought they trusted their planet and the storm and everything, and this creates more. Now the stuff that used to make their food is less, and so um, people start like culling the herd of the people. So it becomes this constant rolling thing of no one can trust anyone, and that becomes kind of the theme of this species as they finally make their way into space and in meeting the rest of the galaxy. You get a lot of kind of the conception of Marchion Ro to what he's going to be. You meet his father, his mother, or his father and his grandmother, and kind of the early stages of the Nile and what eventually he's going to turn it into against the rest of the galaxy. This is just the first part. I believe it's a pretty small miniseries. It's only 3 or 4 issues long, but it's all being told by Marchion Ro in the beginning, kind of being like, you don't know anything about me. Here's what you need to know. And I think this is a really important book if you're following the High Republic stuff, to kind of get a better understanding of why this character and this group is a threat, what their like why they do what they do, why they're called what they're called, all of that. You get some early stuff with some of um, the other Nile characters that we know later on that are big like generals in the Nile's army, and we get some interesting stuff about the way that Marchion Rose sees people, also not just figuratively but physically. He sees them through kind of a red lens that's not just his helmet, because he sees them when he doesn't have that too. And very interesting how he sees people. Hopefully we'll learn more about that. But really important issue if you're reading High Republic. Really fun read. This is by Charles Soule, so one of the main figureheads of the High Republic era stuff. We've got our A cover. We have our Common Coley variant. And then lastly, we have the 1 in 25 Pacheco variant. Really cool with him with his helmet off, that we are selling for $45 to our customers.
Yeah, see, that's another one you have that I'm really looking forward to reading. Like, I'm really interested in this new major villain of the High Republic.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. That sounds very interesting.
And that is not... I will say there's a Star Wars book this week that may rival its importance that was kind of a shock. So you'll have to stay tuned for that one.
All right. So I read Detective Comics issue 1048. So check out that cover. So when we originally showed this cover on Comics from the Future, our show where everyone can order these comics when they're open order, Andy and I were talking about the girl on there who looks like Harley Quinn, but she doesn't quite look like Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
You know, it was like maybe the artist knew someone and they were kind of paying homage to a friend. Like, hey, I'll make you Harley on the cover. That gets explained in this. So I'll go ahead and I'll tell you in a little bit. So this is Detective Comics 1048. This is the second part of the Tower, which is it's become a weekly book where it's all about Arkham Tower. Mm-hmm. So of course, regular Arkham got destroyed back during A-Day when it was bombed out. A lot of people died, and now they're building this tower. So Batman has left Gotham, and it's up to the rest of the Bat team to make sure that this new Arkham goes smoothly, that there's not creeps behind it. You know,
how could there be creeps behind Arkham?
Correct, yeah. No way. So in this issue, first off, last issue we got to see sort of a glimpse of a bunch of weeks in, and it was the Bat family. They were stuck in the tower, a lot of them, and things had gone really badly. I mean, just like it turned into a horror movie. Well, with this issue, we roll back now, and I'm really glad they did that last issue. I like where a comic kind of shows you, hey, strap in because it's going to get this bumpy. Now let's roll back and we'll show you how did this happen? Yeah. How did it get so bumpy? So in this issue, you get to see Batwoman, and you get to see her out of her costume and how she manages to infiltrate Arkham Tower, which is pretty cool. Very smart. You know, typically with the Bat family, they just in costume just break into places. She uses a little bit more intellectual subterfuge in this. Then we have Dr. Ware. He's one of the main doctors of Arkham Tower. He gives a tour in this. And so as a reader, we kind of get a tour of Arkham Tower. There's a lot of really interesting parts to it. On this tour, you get to see the most dangerous people they're housing, which are also some of the few survivors from A-Day. So that gives you an idea on the caliber of villains that they have at this place, and how are the villains faring so far. Are they okay? Are they messed up in the head? But back to the Harley, you also get a glimpse of, and you'll want to read this part on your own, but it's not Harley. It's a girl who thinks she's Harley. And it's kind of interesting to read some of the things that she did and the ways that she acted. But that's why she doesn't look like Harley on the cover.
She has a very distinct face.
Correct.
Cool.
Yeah. So it's actually a different Harley. I wonder if she'll be in it anymore.
Yeah.
So a Harley copycat, I guess. So which I feel like if Harley Quinn were a real person, as many people as I've seen go as her for Halloween, there would be Harley copycats in this world. So something about that's really satisfyingly rings true, I guess. So the The thing to this one is you get the first cameo of another doctor, Dr. Oceans. And I know some people care. They're collecting all these first appearances of the doctors, expecting maybe somebody's going to stick around. I don't know if they are, but I thought I'd mention first cameo of Dr. Oceans. He's kind of in the shadows. So you also get to learn about the past of Dr. Wares, which is really interesting. I mean, we're talking like childhood past. Why is he a psychiatrist? Why does he care about all this? And is his past good or nefarious? Is he what he seems to be, or does something happen that makes him very scary? I'm not telling.
It's Gotham, so it's always the best.
Yeah, really good issue, honestly. Like, I thought last issue was great when they got to the bumpy future of Arkham Tower with the family. This one was really good, too. So we have this awesome Lee Bermejo variant. Batman might be out of Gotham, but he's not gone from Lee Bermejo's covers.
Cool. Well, my next one is a super fun, super weird title. This is Devil's Reign Superior 4. So this is one of our first tie-in books to the Devil's Reign storyline that's kind of Daredevil-centric or Elektra-centric. Mostly Kingpin-centric. And in this, since all of this stuff has come out about the Fantastic Four that Kingpin has had in his grubby hands, he's released all this stuff and they've been captured and imprisoned. Dr. Octavius has been given the Baxter building. That was kind of his thing of like, I want this one. And so he is given that because he has a plan with some of Reed Richards' machines, mostly his top floor multiversal transmitter whatever machine, because he wants to create his own Council of Ox, he calls it. So if you know anything about kind of recent Fantastic Four stories and everything, there's a Council of Reeds, which are Reed Richards from multi-dimensional, different worlds, different universes that come together because they're all so smart. They solve problems because they all have big brains. Well, of course, Doc Ock thinks that he is the perfect one to have one of these two, and he begins by pulling out a few versions of himself, one being a version of himself that became the Spirit of Vengeance. So he is a Ghost Rider Doc Ock. There is a Hulk Doc Ock. They all have, it's funny, like, his constant through the multiverses, he has to have some version of multiple arms. That is his universal truth that he has. There is also one that is a Wolverine. I believe his name is Otto Howlett, which is really funny. Super cool though. He does have claws that come out of his fist, but he also has claws that come out of his back that make the thing. But this is a very fun but very kind of trippy because there's a lot of techno mumbo jumbo going on in this, where you just have all of these big brains talking to each other, but they all have their little sunglasses, and they're discussing like making this version of himself, this group, but there's a difference between Doc Ock and Reed Richards. It seems that Doc Ock isn't as important to the multiverse as Reed Richards is, and maybe the versions of him that are out there aren't as good or aren't as important. And so he's going to do something to remedy that. He's going to cull the herd to create the kind of perfect versions of himself. So we do get more versions of Doc Ock through the multiverse, which is cool. You could consider them first appearances. Who knows if they'll go on to be anything, because they're pretty goofy. But it ends with there is going to be one that is kind of the ultimate version that is kind of watching this take place from afar and has their own plans with this multiverse version of Doc Ock. It's funny because it's Devil's Reign, but it has very little to do with that storyline. It's basically how he got in the building, and then this adventure takes place elsewhere. So this was a really fun issue. I really liked it. I like the different versions of him and kind of his just attitude of he thinks he's so important, so superior, but he's kind of met with the horrible fact that maybe he's not as important as he thinks he is.
It sounds like some writer was having a real good time.
Yeah, this is by Zach Thompson, and the art is by David Tinto, and it does seem like here's this concept, do what you want with it. And I'm looking forward. I'm glad this is a mini series. Sometimes you read these, you're like, oh, this is a good one shot or whatever. I want to see where this goes because this could go really fun places. We also have a Ruin variant. He's looking way more menacing, but styling in his white suit. And then lastly, we have the U variant. This is a 1 in 25 that we're selling for $25.
I thought of one I hope is in there. How about Howard the Doc?
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's a strong.
Mm,
Really, the pun is what takes it far.
I thought so. Okay, so I read the new one by Joe Hill. It is called Rain. So take a look at the cover. You see there seems to be, it looks like almost like a beam of light going through these two people on the cover. That's sort of what the story is about. So the story is set in our world, but there is this deadly rain that falls. It is needles. And the needles, they fall in a way where they'll go through you, they'll land in you, they will kill you. And that is exactly what happens. It kills tons of people. So on the cover, we have our two main characters. Really, this has one main character. Her name is Honeysuckle. And Honeysuckle is in love with her girlfriend, Yolanda, who is the other character. In this, Joe Hill, he's very good at writing characters.
Mm-hmm.
He just is. I've read a lot of his stuff. He's good at having his characters have different voices. So what he spends a lot of the time doing is setting up this situation for what is going to happen, which is this deadly rain. And so you meet all the characters in the neighborhood that are important to these two, which means you get a lot more feeling from it when the rain happens and almost everybody gets killed.
Yeah.
It's very gruesome. It's a very messed up story. But I will say that the end of this doesn't even have a hint as to where it's going, though. You know what I mean? Like, it's sort of like, here are these characters. Here's all about their lives. They're very interesting. You'll want to read it if you just like indie stuff because it's written so well.
Mm-hmm.
The characters feel real. They have interesting thoughts and conversations. Oh, yeah. And then this rain event happens, and it's narrated by Honeysuckle after it happened. Okay? So she's thinking back on it. But when it happens and all the gruesome stuff occurs, you know, and we try to do spoiler light, but I mean, I don't have any know how to say this any other way. The story just kind of ends there. You know, it's sort of like, and then this terrible thing happens. I wonder what will happen now. I have no idea.
It's not like we're gonna stop the rain,
right? Or find out what did it. Honeysuckle doesn't seem like she's a scientist. She doesn't seem like she has any position.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe it'll end up being like a Walking Dead story where like gangs and stuff because everyone's dead. I have no idea, but it's written so well. It's a really good first issue. I did just want to warn everybody. I couldn't tell you where Joe Hill is taking this from here. I have no idea, but not in a frustrating way. Just in a I don't know. I don't even have a guess, honestly. But good first issue of Rain. Joe Hill still at the top of his game. I quite enjoyed it. So here we have the variant. This is the Beals variant.
Cool. So next we're getting to the other one I teased. This is a big one. This is Star Wars number 20. You can see on the cover Luke looking at a projection of Yoda. So this takes place, of course, after Empire Strikes Back. So he has met Yoda at this point, but he's left. And he has now decided to go on a kind of an odyssey, a journey to become a Jedi, because it's hard for Luke in this time frame. There's not really anyone who can teach him how to do that, but he feels like, if I'm going to face Vader, this needs to be, I need to kind of up my game and learn what does it mean to be a Jedi. Well, we saw in the end of the last issue that he's found a holocron, which is kind of a recorded um, thing where you can learn from Jedi that have come before you. He found one that actually had his own master, Master Yoda, in it. And he's like, oh, this is convenient. So it's funny. It begins with him watching this, and you get this very well crafted, elaborate lesson from Yoda. Although, and then when it ends, Luke goes, he taught me that like my second week there. Like, I've already got this lesson. So Luke is very frustrated from this, but R2, in his own way, says, keep going, keep checking this out. So Luke watches a little bit more, and he gets kind of in a Yoda, kind of just as he's telling a thing, he mentions a few places that are very powerful in the Force. Some we've heard of before, but he mentions one, and Luke says, I'm going to go there. So Luke is going to head off to this planet that is not really on any maps or anything. And on that planet, I feel like I'm giving a lot of story, but it's really important when you get to what is coming up. This planet, which is like covered in what seems to be mushrooms, but there's like no elevation. It is just like one giant ball of decently large mushrooms, but not like Super Mario mushrooms. They're fine. And of course, Luke is having that thought of, what's the point of being here? Like, what's special about this place? As he's pulling into the planet, he's like, R2, I don't know what we're going to find here. We're going to find some temples, or maybe a lost Jedi is going to be here. But when he steps off of his ship, he is sucked down into the planet, where he meets someone. And this is not necessarily someone who's actually there, but is not a spirit or anything. You'll have to read it to find out exactly what they are. But someone from the High Republic era. This is our first meeting of Luke, and I feel like our first like pseudo crossover between the High Republic books and the regular Star Wars books. This is something I have so many notes written about. I would love to discuss with people about, because it is very interesting. It is all explained how this is possible. It's a really cool explanation, but also a lot of wisdom is imparted to Luke from a time period where the Jedi were kind of at their pinnacle. But this is also kind of that Jedi from the High Republic learning, hey, if you're out here and you're saying you're like the last Jedi left, it didn't go too well for us. So you're getting an interesting back and forth. I will say there is a character that is name dropped in this that to kind of Star Wars fans that go a little bit beyond the movies may be familiar with, that was a very significant expanded universe character before Disney took over, and has only been mentioned, I think, in the Clone Wars animated series, but very briefly. But this is the first time in comics and in I feel like the current storytelling continuity of a character that is fairly significant to Star Wars mythos that I think people will be excited to see. But a lot of stuff is imparted in this, and Luke does not leave this situation empty-handed. There is something that he is left with that is kind of teased for coming next that I'm very excited about. It's something that I tried to decode. I only got a little bit into it, but it was really fun. So this was a pretty significant issue of Star Wars, number 20. I feel like one that probably a lot of people were not aware was coming, and is going to be a pretty big one for both collectors of the main Star Wars series and High Republic. So we've got some variants for this as well. First up, we have the Sprouse variant for Solo with Kira and Beckett on the cover. Then we have our John Tyler Christopher action figure variant. He's getting through all the Ewoks. There's a lot of them to go through. Next, he's going to hit all the Jawas probably. Then we have the 1 in 25 lambing variant that we are selling to our customers for $30. That scene kind of takes place in there if you read it. But also, I want to mention, without going too much detail, we also got Star Wars Bounty Hunters this week, number 20, which has a really cool variant cover. This is the Sprouse with Kaz from Star Wars Resistance on it, the CG animated series. I was looking up to see if this was his first appearance in anything. He actually was in an issue of Star Wars Adventures, but this is the first time we're kind of getting him in the kind of classic art style, which is really cool. And then we also got Star Wars High Republic Adventures number 12, along with a really nice 1 in 10 Huang variant that we're selling to our customers for $15.
Heavy Star Wars week.
Heavy Star Wars week.
And some major stuff happening. In
Major stuff, really exciting stuff. All the Star Wars fans out there will be very happy about these issues this week.
I mean, I would have never thought they'd do a crossover. Well, so crossover between High Republic and regular Star Wars I could see, but like Luke being at the center of it.
Yeah, and you're learning a lot about like, hey, Luke now, when you consider him later on in the films, like in Return of the Jedi and post that, you're like, he knew a lot of things. Like he got a lot of information from a lot of sources you don't expect him to. It's kind of framing his character.
All right, so spinning out of Chip Zdarsky's Daredevil, Zdarsky himself is writing Daredevil, Woman Without Fear, starring Elektra. So Elektra has taken up the mantle of Daredevil. Doesn't mean Matt Murdock's not still being Daredevil too. They both are. And in doing this, she has sworn off killing people for a while. So this is the first issue of this. And so Wilson Fisk, Andy was talking about, Wilson Fisk has these files that he has been keeping on all these heroes. He's been building it up over time, buying information whatever way he can. And in this, Elektra finds out that he has given over her file to an old enemy of hers, which you'll find out by the end who this is. I should also mention this issue has the first appearance of a character named Aka, that's spelled AKA, who is the representative of the Hand who first recruited Elektra. It's so sort of her secondary mentor. We get a lot of Elektra history in this, starting back with her getting trained by Stick. And then after that, we do get to see her get recruited by Aka, and we get to see her go through even more training. So a lot of this is sort of like present day and then past stuff that relates to present day. It's a lot of that sort of storytelling in this one. And then it ends with the, I guess, surprise enemy, who I think is going to be a major enemy of hers for the next lot of issues, because it's a pretty heavy hitter enemy, which I'm guessing has been hired by the Hand. I think the Hand is like mad at Elektra for leaving them and for giving up her vow on being an assassin. But that's me speculating. I don't know. So pretty cool issue of Daredevil, Woman Without Fear, issue number 1. We got some good variants for this. Here is the Baldari variant. I like the colorfulness, like the particular reds that they chose for this one. Here is the Hitch variant, which just has a lot of action going on in it. A lot of people there. Then we have the Todd Knock Headshot variant. And lastly, we have the 1 in 25 John Romita Jr. variant. Elektra in the Rain. And let's see, we're selling that for $35 to our clients.
Nice. I'm excited about reading that one. Chip Zdarsky's made Elektra really like advanced her story in a really interesting way, where it's like it's hard to see her going back to her old life with this new kind of status quo of her.
Yeah, they've taken her away from villain at all. Even anti-hero, they've moved her more into the realm of hero.
Yeah.
And this issue was good, but half of it is like a catch you up issue. But what I like is instead of just catching you up, they add to her past. Like
Mm-hmm.
the stuff with Aka and the hand, that's been talked about, not Aka, but the hand.
Mm-hmm.
But now you're getting to see it.
Yeah.
So
Cool. So next up is a book that I really love. This is Batgirls #2. This is a such a fun, energetic, bright book. Even though you're still in the Bat world where it's dark and Gotham's gritty and everything. These are the characters that can actually have some fun with it, and that's always refreshing. So, uh, in Batgirls #1, of course, Oracle Barbara Gordon has taken Cassandra Cain and Stephanie Brown under her wing to kind of train them and help focus them to be the new Batgirls in this further part of Gotham that doesn't quite get the Batman attention that maybe it needs. So in the end of the last one, they were confronted by this new team of people called the Saints. And of course, they are operating under the whim of Simon Saint. But wait, wasn't he pretty much taken care of before? Well, that is explained why they are working for him and still getting orders from him, which is a really interesting twist in this. So we get introduced to these characters and a little I mean, we've got a character like Oracle who can hack anything or whatever. She can pretty much give you the bios of these people as they're fighting them. So we learn about them. They are Tarsus, Valentine, and Assisi, which they're very interesting characters. You learn why they are what they are, where they came from, all of that during this fight between the Batgirls and them. And they seem to be kind of being set up as, at least for now, the main antagonist to Batgirls, along with some other stuff that's going on in this part of town, like a strange murderer going around that they're trying to figure out. But also there is been a string of thefts, and it looks like the mastermind behind it is a new villain named Tudor, who is kind of a graffiti artist, but also may have some kind of hypnotizing powers. It's really cool. So it's a really fun issue, along with just that kind of main story stuff. We get a lot of character development with the Batgirls, like Cassandra Cain getting her ear pierced and stuff, because Barbara has invented new Bat communicators that are earrings, but Cassandra just had clip-on earrings, and so Stephanie really wants to take this opportunity to pierce her ears and stuff. It is really fun. It's really funny, really lively. This is a good kind of all-ages entry into the Bat family, but not taking away from the kind of serious nature of what they're doing. So, really, really fun issue of Batgirls.
that's true because I know, like you were saying, there's like a serial killer going on.
Yeah, it's a
Fun and light, but also there's a serial killer.
And then this is an interesting thing. So this happens on occasion where when books get printed, things might get a little reversed or messed up. Books that were supposed to be bigger variants become more normal ones. This was actually intended to be, I believe, the 1 in 25, but some barcodes got messed up. So this is now just the open order variant. The hip variant, I believe. Or no, this is the Gonzalez variant. It was supposed to be the 1 in 25, and now the 1 in 25 was what was going to be the B cover, which we are sold out of. So if you really like this one, but you're like, oh, I don't know if I want to pay the bigger bucks for that one, well, great. Now it is just the regular $4.99 price. So pretty cool.
All right, so I read Justice League versus Legion of Superheroes #1. This is, a 6-issue miniseries by Brian Michael Bendis. So Bendis loves Legion of Superheroes, and I have some ideas on why he does that I'll go over here in a moment. So the first thing is we all know. Well, I guess if you've been keeping up with Legion and all, that there is a Gold Lantern. You know,
Yes.
Gold Lantern had first appearance a little while back. In this, you get to see sort of the Gold Lantern League. It's more than just the one. So that's one thing with this book. Um, but what's going on in it is you start out with the Legion, and of course, there's a ton of them, and they're having a good time superheroing together, talking about what planets they're from and what customs. You have that custom, well, we have this other custom, and it's just sort of a fun, breezy read, even though there's a lot of it to read because when you have that many characters, even if they all are just saying a sentence, it's a lot going on.
Yeah.
So these dark tremors have been popping up around the galaxy, and it's looking like something really bad and dark is happening, but somehow it's linked in with the 21st century. So Triplicate Girl ends up getting drawn back into the 21st century and has to sort of get the Justice League to trust her to get their help. And of course, they don't know who she is, but she knows Superboy at least. So, but it may end up that she's not the only one that ends up going back. Something happens towards the end where it may be all the League is going to end up in the 21st century. It kind of looks that way, which,
Yeah.
Since it's Justice League versus Legion, kind of feels like that's probably what will happen.
Yeah.
And, by the end of it, probably the Justice League will end up in the future, the whole thing. Who knows? But what I'll say is this has some very dizzying writing and characters like a good Legion story should. Like every Legion story I've read that Bendis has done, it's like he is challenging himself. That is my theory on Bendis and Legion. He has written so much stuff that he's like, hey, can I have 24 characters all in the same story? Yet it's still a good story. What they say is amusing, and you have to really slow down and take your time to enjoy it and to try to keep up with, well, why do they say that? And who are they? Without, him like beating you over the head with too many words at once. I think he sees Legion as a real challenge, and I know the people who love it really love it. But for those of you who read other Bendis Legion stuff, it reads like that. It reads more like a Bendis Legion story than like a Justice League story.
Yeah.
So that's my quick review of that. And then we have a more variant.
I'm sure all these variants are going to have different Justice League and Legion characters teaming up on the cover.
I think that's what we can expect for sure.
Yeah. So my next one is issue 2 of King Conan by Jason Aaron. So I really liked issue 1. It was a nice blend of the classic Conan that you like, along with some mystery and some kind of intrigue about where is he and what's actually going on. So in the previous one, Conan as king, something has driven him to become bored with his kingship and his ruling, because in his core he is a barbarian, and as he's getting older he needs to go out. I guess he's having some kind of midlife crisis, and he needs to go out and do what he adventure what he needs in his heart, and he hits the open sea to go beyond the borders of the map, which I love that concept anyways. I love what weirdness lies beyond the corners of the map. And he has arrived at this island where he it seems like your classic high adventure island where all the ships have crashed there and there's just wreckage everywhere. It's a very rocky, very scary place. But also there was his longtime rival Thothamon, one of the classic Conan villains.
Yeah.
But there's a lot that we don't know. Like, why is he there? Of course, Conan being like, you're my enemy, we're going to throw down. In the previous issue, they have a big fight, a lot going down. But also it ends where the dead suddenly start rising that were from all the crashed ships, which is a ton. So this one picks up there where Thothamon and Conan have to come to somewhat of an agreement to take on these legions of the dead on this mysterious island. That even a Conan kind of thinks, am I dead? Is this some form of the afterlife? Which is a very interesting take. Since he said it, I imagine it's not that. but you could easily see that as an answer to this as well. But in this one, they're fighting, but we are now getting a flashback as well to Conan and his son Khan, as Conan is the king and his son is the prince, but his son has grown up in this world of my dad is the king, and there's more rules, and we kind of live a nicer life and all of that. And he doesn't always agree with the way Conan is ruling the kingdom, which is pretty rough. They have an argument about, we've been fighting this army, but they just ran, so we're good. And Conan's like, no, we're gonna go pursue him. And I was like, why? Like, we won. And he's like, you don't understand what it's like to really fear anything or whatever. So Conan is going to do something pretty harsh, and seems to exile his son to force him to have an adventure. So that story is going on, as well as the one with them on the island. And at the end, there's a new character that appears that may be behind some of what's going on, but still a lot of mystery, a lot of action. The art is amazing. It's just a super cool book. It definitely feels like the culmination of Conan. Like, this feels like a final Conan story. Whether it is or not, we'll have to see. But I thoroughly enjoyed King Conan #2. I look forward to this book coming out. And then we have the variant for this as well. Really cool. Great book.
All right, so I read We Ride Titans, a new series from Vault Comics. So the premise of this series is there's a city called New Hyperion, and the city regularly has to fight off kaiju. It seems like maybe kaiju are just around in this world. And so the city's protector is this mech suit that is piloted by a particular family. It's like this family's thing. We pilot the mech suit. We have always protected New Hyperion. Well, Kit is one of the members of the family, and she's sort of the black sheep of the family. Like, she's not even with the family at the beginning. But what happens when her brother, who's piloting the suit, after so much pressure, it's a lot of pressure fighting off kaiju all the time, life and death, sort of, trying to keep the city from being destroyed. As you're so big, you're destroying it yourself. What happens when her brother, through all this pressure, he starts drinking on the job, and things don't go so well, and he's almost killed. A lot of the city is messed up. Well, her family goes to her, and they pretty much say, look, Kit, we need you to rejoin the family. Your brother's messed up. You need to pilot the Titan, because that's what we do. And so that's a lot of what this issue is about, is learning who Kit is, what her grief is with the family, and how she feels about them trying to get her to pilot this Titan in this world where it's Mech Titan versus Kaiju. So that is the general premise of the first issue of We Ride Titans. And here is the Hickson variant. And we also have two more. We have this 1 in 5 Gooden variant. We're selling for $10. See the Titan there. Here's another one. And then a 1 in 10 Ramondelli variant. You can see the Titan a lot better. We're selling for $15.
Is that Vault?
It is Vault. Yep.
Vault's really doing some good books lately.
Yep.
Okay, my next one is one that I did not get to read as much as I wanted to because ran out of time, but I just know I'm going to enjoy this. I love the first 2 issues. This is the last part of Robin and Batman, the Jeff Lemire, Dustin Nguyen 3-part series. Looking at the early days of Dick Grayson as being Robin and his relationship with Batman at that time, and his relationship meeting the what will become the Teen Titans and everything. So I really wish I got a chance to read this one. I did not, but I'm definitely picking it up because this has been an awesome book so far.
Cover looks like Robin's going to really have to do something on his own there. Batman does not look
Yeah,
like he's in a good condition.
and people are loving the series too because I was here and I had the variant, and then Megan came in and said, "Hey, do you have the variant for that? Someone needs it." And I gave it to her, and that was our last of the variants. So, um, very popular. So definitely get on that. You can probably still find the first two issues at your store.
Okay, so I read Marvel Voices Heritage. So you guys know how this goes. Marvel has been releasing these different anthologies. This has 4 different stories by different creative teams that are all indigenous. And of those stories, you've got like Forge and Warpath. They're in a story. You've got American Eagle, who's in a story, and you've got Maya Lopez Echo, who's in a story. So if you've read the other Marvel Voices stuff, it's a lot like that, just sort of anthology stuff. And we've got some variants with this. Here is the variant. The artist name is Boney. I didn't want to say this is the Boney variant. It just sounds weird, but this is a variant by Boney. And then we have a variant by Wolf.
Cool. So next up, I have Amazing Spider-Man number 85. Look, we've got some more Doc Ock in the show today. Quite a bit, actually. He is pretty big in this issue. This is actually more about him than it is Ben Reilly. But that's because Doc Ock is trying to break into the Beyond facility to learn what secrets they have in there. And pretty interesting stuff that I don't even know how to describe it that he discovers there. I showed Jason because
Yeah.
I was like, I thought I knew about roughly what kind of place the Beyond Corporation was, but there's some doors he goes through and he sees some things that make me question the sanity of this corporation. Like, why in the world would you need to do what you're doing? Um, Almost to the point where I'm like, is the Mojo verse behind this or something like very weird might be behind this
Yeah, because
corporation?
you expect with Beyond Corporation, it's going to be nefarious.
Yeah.
It's weird.
It's like
it's more weird than nefarious.
yeah, it's downright goofy in a way that like what he finds in one of the rooms, I need an entire one shot about it. I need this to be a new character that
they could be a company from like the Tick universe with what he
yes,
finds.
yeah, exactly. Which I would in a book like Howard the Duck or Deadpool or something, I would go,
Right.
that's a
Yeah.
fun, just little joke. When it's in a book that actually has some pretty serious moments like Spider-Man, I go, there's more behind this. There has to be.
Yeah.
This has to be addressed at some point. Maybe not these exact things that he runs into, but the whole concept of what the Beyond Corporation is trying to achieve needs to they need to answer for what I just read. But it was a really good issue, and this is one of your classic issues where something is discovered that we don't see, but Ben Reilly sees, and is going to change how he sees the corporation as well. So I'm looking forward to probably the next issue where we learn what did he find out. It kind of leaves us in a state of limbo. But if he just saw a recording of the room I saw, he has a lot of questions as well. So really fun issue. I can't wait. There's going to be like a bleeding cool article about this. Like this is just teeing up for a perfect article about what the heck is going on. But Amazing Spider-Man 85. Then we have a really nice Peach Momoko variant. Now, I have a question about this variant. Jenny, who is helping us pull the comics and everything, noticed this. This looks like what Spider-Man #1, right?
Yeah.
But it says
Amazing Fantasy.
yeah, it says
Yeah.
after Jack Kirby on the bottom. Now Jack Kirby did not do that. Was Ditko, right?
I don't know. I think Ditko might have joined in
I don't know
later,
if you know.
but
Let me know. I just thought that was interesting.
I'll go get my Amazing Fantasy out of my vault,
Yeah,
and we'll take a
just
look.
grab one of them, whichever one. I know you've got like 10 or 11.
And I'll take a look at it through my monocle.
Yeah, I don't know. I just thought that was interesting. So if anyone knows, or is this homaging a different cover, let me know.
That's definitely Amazing Fantasy 15. But
Yeah.
as far as, that's one of those things I know I knew, but like I just hadn't thought about it in so long.
Yeah.
As to who did that cover.
But,
so I totally think it could have been Kirby, though.
But a great Peach Momoko cover. For sure.
Okay, so I read Batman Urban... Whoop, that's the wrong one. I read Batman Urban Legends issue 11. So Urban Legends has many different stories in it, but they're not just standalone stories, meaning they can continue, which is neat. It's not like one and dones. This issue has 4 stories in it, but I'm just going to tell you about my 2 favorite stories. The first one has to do with Batman and Zatanna, who, as you can see, are on the cover. So in this story, there is a reason that Batman, Bruce Wayne, and Zatanna get together once a year to go off to do some secret magic thing to try to... It's hard to tell what, but let's just say they have to do it or something really bad is going to happen. Possibly like universe destroying. I don't know. So first you get to see how did this begin? Which it's brighter times. Like you got Bruce Wayne. He's like literally hitting on Zatanna, but in a very like schoolboyish way, like embarrassed way. So you got some sweet scenes with those two. And the magic they do, it's actually very nice magic. It's very like romantic, but something really bad happens, and you'll see why they have to meet yearly to sort of try to do something about it. Well, Superman, it's been years and years, and Superman approaches Bruce and he's like, hey, I may not be as smart as you, but I've been around long enough. I notice you and Zatanna meet once a year. You go off, and then when you get back, you guys like won't even look at each other or talk or anything. He's like, I don't know what y'all are up to, but this isn't good for the Justice League. And, so of course, Batman acknowledges it, but, you're not going to get much out of Batman.
Yeah.
So, but as a reader, you get to follow them because they are getting together. They are doing this thing. You get to see the history of it, and it's not over. It ends on a to be continued. I think it's a really good plot. I mean, on its own, that would have been a really good one-shot comic. But also in this, you get my second story I wanted to talk about, which is a story with Ace the Bat Hound. In this story, you get Ace's origin, which is pretty cool. And on top of that, you get to see what Batman would be like if he had a dog for a partner. I mean, Ace is really his Robin. Ace takes down so many people in this and does so many useful things. I really want to see this now all the time. Batman with just a really well-trained, smart dog. But I have to say, the story is not canon. Read it for yourself, see if you agree. But something happens in it that could not happen that makes it where it has to be a what-if story. I was shocked when I saw what happens in this. And it's also to be continued. So I'm pretty hooked after those two on Batman Urban Legends number 11. I definitely recommend it. But that Ace story, where it goes, I was like, are you kidding me? No way. So you just have to wait and see, and I'm going to have to wait and read the next issue to see where it goes. So here we have the Mostert variant. There he is, Ace the Bat Hound.
There's a issue of Batman Brave and the Bold where Aquaman and Etrigan the Demon have the same pact where they meet once a year to they have to go underwater and stop like a Cthulhu monster from rising up, and they have like this date they always meet on and everything. I like that. It's a cool concept for a story of like, we don't talk about this, we do it, and we go our separate ways. It's done until we have to do this again. Yeah, that's really cool. So my next one is issue 2 of Miss Marvel, Beyond the Limit. Now, issue 1 of this was very interesting. I thought it was thought they were setting up the series in a certain way where, in the end of it, basically Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel, wakes up in like a Bollywood movie. Like people she would never think are singing and dancing and have choreographed movements and all of that. Very weird. Um, that that doesn't continue for too long in this one. But what is significant about this issue is people are saying it's the first appearance of a doppelganger type character of Miss Marvel, who seems to have very similar powers. And of course, with doppelgangers, I feel like we just got this with Batman the Imposter. They commit a crime, they look like you're blamed for it.
Right.
It's a little bit of that, but she does come face to face with this character in there. I'm interested to see who this character is because I know on the cover of the next one, it looks like they're pulling the mask off somebody. Doesn't seem like a mask in this one, but you'll have to read it to find out. It was a fun issue. Like seeing Kamala Khan in more stuff. She hasn't had kind of an ongoing or anything like that in a while, so this was a really fun one. And this is just the variant cover because we are already sold out of the first one. So many people added the series to their list since we placed our orders that we are sold out of the main one.
Yeah, the doppelganger thing happened to Miles lately too. You know, and at the beginning of that arc, they were doing crimes. People thought it was Miles. They didn't harp on that. That wasn't the main thrust of that story, at least. It was just a part that happens.
It's a real big problem for superheroes.
Your trial by doppelganger fire that has to happen to pretty much every hero. Okay, so I read Dark Ages #4. I've really been enjoying this series. This, of course, is Marvel's sort of what-if story where all of electricity is gone, so most technology does not work. You know, you have to either use superpowers or magic, or steam power gets used in this. And, of course, the main big villain is Apocalypse, who has utilized both good and bad heroes, some of the smartest ones. I think he's got Moon Girl, he's got Reed Richards, and he's doing all kinds of evil stuff. So in this one, everybody is fleeing Europe because Apocalypse is like moving in and taking over everything. And so they show you how they've managed to be able to ship 100,000 people in one time on one ship. Which I always like the explanation of that. You know, some technology, steam power, some superhero power, but 100,000 people get moved all at once to Wakanda, which has opened up their borders because they know how dire the situation is. Also in this issue, you get to see the first appearance of Storm and Black Panther's daughter.
Oh, wow.
So that's pretty cool. And of course, so also in this, you know, what's cool about Dark Ages is the villain, Apocalypse, he's got heroes working for him. Well, the good guys also have villains working for them. Like Doctor Doom, he's not with Apocalypse. He's against him. So in this, he's telling the heroes, look, we need to go. We need to kill Apocalypse. We can't just leave Good Enough alone. He's never going to stop. And of course, the heroes are like, why should we trust you? Like you were a dictator just a few years ago. So can they trust Doom? Are they going to do this plan? Give the issue a read. Another strong issue of Dark Ages. Issue #4. And here we have the Macone variant. There's also another death in this issue, but I mean, need I say that? When they do the what if things, they're allowed to do that. So yeah, you get to see another major hero get killed. Oh, I'll tease this too. What are the Ghost Raiders? Not Ghost Riders, but Ghost Raiders. They're pretty awesome.
That's pretty cool.
But scary and villainous.
Okay, so next is one that I was planning on reading, but turned out I didn't have enough time for this too, because this is a very interesting issue of Department of Truth. Flipping through it, I actually feel like I got a lot out of it just flipping through it, because it is mostly pictures and files. So this is not what you would technically call a comic. What did you describe it as?
It's images and words.
Yes.
That's what it is.
I will say there's probably, unless I missed it, not a single like speech balloon in this.
Yeah, it's not panels.
Yeah, not panels.
It's great big awesome images and then some paragraphs
Yeah.
and files.
So
Apart
some
from
really beautiful art paired with some kind of case files about the Mothman. So I'm very excited to really dig into this, but I feel like I got a lot out of it just looking at the art. It really speaks for itself. It's kind of hard to see on this dark cover in person. It's really cool with the kind of the glowing eyes and everything. But yeah, James Tynion once again he's really big into playing with the format of comics and how all that works and everything. So really cool issue of Department of Truth.
All right, so I just wanted to remind everyone that Animal Castle #1, the second print, is out this week. So of course this was a just very popular first issue because, as Andy and I predicted, it is the rise of animal comics ever since Stray Dogs. So just don't want anyone to miss out on this. Animal Castle #1, second print, out as of tomorrow.
Next up is Joker #11. This is kind of the long-awaited where Joker faces off, or at least he's being shipped to a family of cannibals who are going to be the first to take a bite out of Joker, as Gordon kind of he goes back and forth on is this okay or not, and it's still the Joker, but he doesn't want to see anybody eaten or anything. So for y'all who are reading Joker, this is a fun one. We get some more backstory on the family of cannibals and a very Texas Chainsaw feel to the story. So really cool, and we've got some nice variants for this as well. We've got the Kale New variant. And then we have the Jim Chung variant.
That must have been a Joker fantasy variant because he had both Harley and Punchline with him.
Yeah.
Whereas,
and he's in that dapper top hat.
I know, yeah. Whereas Harley won't be seen dead with him anymore, and Punchline's not with him, and also told him, "I'm not your girlfriend. I'm your partner, equal partner, in crime." That is. So here we have Hawkeye, Kate Bishop, issue #3. So you see the cover, Kate is fighting just sort of a mass of people. And a lot of that is because she's going up against this like crime circus, and they're able to mind control people. She learned that last issue, and so it's sort of hard to fight off people when they're not all necessarily villains. Of course, luckily Kate, she's also good at punching people in the face, which is less likely to kill them than with arrows. So also in this issue, her and her sister finally make up. One other thing I like they've been doing in this series is she's been getting texts, so you get to find out what Cassie Lang thinks about what's going on. America Chavez has been texting with her a lot, but we finally get Clint Barton texts in, and they have some sweet I know she's not his daughter, but there's a little bit of that feeling between them. So that's Hawkeye, Kate Bishop, issue #3. And here is the Chung variant.
Yeah, the beginning of our Chung kind of sketch variants that are really cool looking.
Yep.
And I believe my last one I have is Harley Quinn Eat Bang Kill Tour #5. So this just continues to be such a fun romp of a story. Just the relationship between Harley and Ivy in this is, it's not all just Looney Tunes fun and games. There's actually a really poignant story about their relationship and how Pamela Isley was a little hesitant at first. She was kind of going along with Harley's plan, and then it's gone back and forth. But also in this one, Harley goes to the club, and you can imagine in a book like this, it's a very mature title. Harley has a good time there, but still is conflicted about her relationship with Poison Ivy. Really cool, really fun, and that character shows up, which is just a big old pile of gross. We also have a not that one. We also have a variant. This is the Hawthorne variant. We get a little taste of the nightlife that Harley attends.
All right, so I read Wastelander's Black Widow. This is a one shot. I think it's the second to last Wastelanders. I think there might be a Doctor Doom one still coming. I read so many
Yeah,
comics.
it's hard to tell.
Oh my lord!
Especially since they're not numbered.
So, in this one, it is the first appearance of Old Lady Black Widow. That's like almost a tongue twister. And there she is on the cover. The question is, though, so it was made pretty clear way back in the original stuff that with the rise of the villains in the Old Man universe, that Natasha Romanoff was killed. So who is this? Is that incorrect? And is it her or is it someone else? You will find out if you read this. Also, she goes up against the Lizard King of Florida. And it's funny because it takes place in Kissimmee, which, if you travel to Florida, you've probably been to Kissimmee because, that's where the Disney stuff is. That's where all of the rentals are.
Yeah.
If you're not literally staying, actually, I think Disney is in Kissimmee too. So I think even if you stay at Disney, you're there. But I just think a lot of you, like me, have been to Kissimmee, Florida. And then we have the McNiven variant. These have all been connecting variants. And the last one I wanted to mention is issue number 5 of Odinn's Eye. This is the last issue of this incredible comic. Just awesome art, really good story. This is the finale. It's been released weekly by Bad Idea. And it does have a backup story. Bad Idea, they never announced the backup story.
Yeah.
It's a backup story called Cephalopod that you'll just have to see for yourself. So this is out as well in stores that currently carry Bad Idea comics.
And it is technically the final Bad Idea comic.
Nope, there are more. Because some of them got delayed. There's one next week and another one the week after. It's on the tip of my mind what they are, but there are more still coming.
Okay, so false. There are more, but
it's because of delays and such. Certain ones got pushed back. But winding down.
Yeah, but still keep your eye on the Bad Idea space because who knows what they have next, if they're truly over or not.
Well, I can talk about that for a minute. So we got an email from them saying that it's time for stores to reapply for whatever they do next. So, oh my God, shocking. They're not necessarily over. They may change their name, they may do whatever, but, as of, I guess, 2 weeks ago or maybe a week ago, we reapplied. Mm-hmm. So I don't know why they'd have us apply for something if they weren't going to do anything. So there's that.
Get ready for a good idea. They're just going to mail people money. Can't wait.
All right, so that is our show for today. I hope we have done our job in letting you know more about these comics, these variants. It's tough going in a comic store on a Wednesday with this many issues and just not knowing which ones are the big ones, which ones of the new ones sound good to you. Often all you have is the covers to go on. So if we've done a job that you appreciate, if you're watching us on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. And I guess that's it. So we'll be back on Friday with Comics from the Future. And until then, have a great rest of your day.
Yes.